So basically what happened is that you started the broadcast as well. So
Oh,
it's all good, but you got to see how to share your screen, correct?
yes.
Okay, so you're gonna click that play button, show screen, stop showing screen, and go from there. Okay, so I'm gonna actually take back the presenter mode to myself. I'll share my screen, and when I hand it over, I'll make you a presenter, and then you go ahead and begin your screen sharing. All right?
Got it. Perfect.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, awesome. Right now, I'm waiting for more attendees to join in. I'll probably give us till 7:05, and then inshallah we'll go ahead and begin the program. Okay?
Inshallah khair. Sounds like a plan. I love it.
Brother Faison, I'm just going to coordinate with you. Do you see my PowerPoint presentation?
I see
Great.
it.
Perfect. And for the organizers, I will start recording as soon as we start the program. Right now, the recording has been stopped. I will be starting it as soon as at 7:05, inshallah.
Inshallah khair. Sounds like a plan. Um, 74645 2757 4645. I want everybody here, go ahead and join us right now. Again, it's menti.com, MENTI.com. Just click on that link, open it up on your computer, and then type in that code. Our code is 2757 4645. Inshallah, let's go ahead and get you all to join, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna ask you some questions. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on what's happening in Palestine, also experiences that you might have, and this is gonna be a great way for us to do it, inshallah. So let's give everybody a minute. Go ahead, again, menti.com, and use this code 2757 4645 to join us. And we're getting, oh my, we got 3 people, 4 people on board, 5 people. Oh my gosh, now it's a trend. Let's make it keep going, guys. Let's get 6, 7. Let's get all 30 people to join it. Also, if you hear some kids in the background, I've got a bunch of really small, cute kids and you know what they do is they wait until I'm actually doing a talk, and then they come into my office and get loud, right? I think this is a conspiracy that all kids under the age of 7 are a part of, that whenever your parents try to do something or to give a talk, they'll just kind of barge in, inshallah. All right, guys, 8 people, 9 people. All right, we're on our way. Let's keep going, everybody. Let's get everybody to join and make some magic happen, inshallah. We're gonna have a great time with this activity, inshallah. I'll give you guys, oh, we're at 10 people. Let's keep joining. And let's give you guys another 20, 30 seconds, and then we're gonna start. And if you join late, not a problem at all. Again, it is menti.com. Just go on your laptop, open a tab, open it on your tablet, on your phone, whatever you're joining is, menti.com, and use that code 2757-4645, and you will be here ready for our conversation, inshallah. Let's excited about it. All right, you guys, let's hear what we have. All right, we got 13 people. Let's go ahead and get started because I know our time is fairly short tonight, and you guys got a lot, you guys got a lot of other fun stuff happening this evening. So let's just kind of jump in. So this is the first question, everybody, and we're gonna kind of jump in and get started with this question. So the question is, well, pretty simple. I believe in speaking up for Palestine. Do you strongly agree with that? Do you strongly disagree with that? Let me hear your guys' thoughts on how it is. Open Menti mode. Is this what I click on? No, sorry, guys, it opened up something crazy. Let me close that. Yeah, there we go. We're back here now. All right, everybody. So let's go ahead and take this. Let me refresh the page. Can all be in the same area. All right, guys. So we have 18 people here, and let's go ahead and do this first one. So if you can, go ahead and vote on this topic. I think we'll go forward and backwards. I believe in speaking up for Palestine. Do you strongly agree, strongly disagree? Where are you guys in between that? Go ahead on here and you should be able to vote for that topic, inshallah. All right, let's see it coming in. All right. This is odd. I'm not seeing the, it usually pops up on here and it should show what people are believing in and where they're going.
You know, sorry, Brother Faison, I'm gonna interject. It's not letting us do that. So like we see the question, I believe, of speaking for Palestine, but it just has a thumbs up sign. It doesn't have anything else.
Really? That's very odd. No, it should let you choose one side or the other or something in between there. Huh, that's very weird. Let me see what's going on here. So present, yeah. So it'll be presented like this and it should give you that option.
Yeah, it
okay,
says
guys.
I don't see the choices, only the question and the submit button.
Oh, that's too silly. Okay, well, let's continue. Is it doing the same thing in this one, just giving you these two and just giving you the thumbs up icon?
Yes.
Oh, man. All right, guys, let's skip over some of these two ones. Let's do the first one of this question, inshallah. So we have all our players, they're going to join in. We're going to ask you a question. I want you to type in your response. So it's going to ask you a question. We're going to have you guys type in your response and go from there, inshallah. And hopefully, inshallah, everything works out. But technology has a way that when you want to work, it just breaks on you and doesn't want to do anything for you. So let's see what happens, inshallah. All right, bismillah. So the leaderboard top quiz participant will be displayed here once the results are in. Wait, what? Okay, you know what, everybody? I'm sorry, it's being very odd. It's not working on us. I'm just gonna skip that, and we're gonna get into our presentation, inshallah. Very sorry about that. Like I said,
it looked really cool. So technology difficulties, but we'll try it again later.
Yeah, we'll try it again some other time. The whole idea was to be like, do you support Palestine? And that's gonna ask you a few questions and get you involved. Okay, guys, let's jump in. What I want to talk to you guys about today is how can you support Palestine, talk about it with your friends, your family, your neighbors, people in other areas, and do it with ihsan, do it in the best manner, do it with the right way, and also knowing your rights as well. Inshallah, without further ado, let's jump in and get into it. First thing we all have to remember is that the children who are in Palestine are just like us. They're just like you and I living at home all across the country. They have parents, they have to go to school, they have a life that they have to live. Unfortunately, because of what's happened to them and the way that they're treated in that part of the world, they unfortunately cannot live a normal life. They simply just can't go to school like you and I go to. They can't have safety like you and I have safety. And because of that, you and I, we have an Islamic duty, a religious duty to stand up for those who are oppressed, to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves, and make sure that we are speaking up for these children. SubhanAllah, if you look at this picture here, this is a picture of kids just like you guys joining our seminar today, and they're very happy. You know, he's got the peace sign going on, but if you look just behind them, just in the background. You see that they're in front of these sandbags that are there to protect them, and you see this really large fire going on in the background, and then of course you see the Palestinian flag as well. This is unfortunately the reality that many of these young brothers and sisters of ours in Palestine have to go through every single day. And what we have to do is we have to be able to speak for them, educate others, because the reality is that we have to understand that the reason that Palestinians are treated so badly and poorly is unfortunately because our country, my country, the United States of America, supports Israel and allows Israel to do what it does against our Palestinian brothers and sisters. That doesn't mean America is bad. That doesn't mean America is a bad country. It just means that right now, today, America supports Israel. And what we have to do is we, alhamdulillah, live in America. We eventually, you guys are going to get older, you can vote. You'll be able to take further action and be able to educate others. We are in a position that can change our friends' minds, our neighbors' mind, and by doing that, change America's position so that way they are more fair and that they also support the Palestinians who are being treated in this terrible manner. And that's where you and I come in. Our Palestinian brothers and sisters cannot speak in America. They don't have the same voice that we do. They don't have the same platform that we do. So we have to be the ones that are able to speak for them. Yes, inshallah, khair. I'm excited about it. Let's jump in. One of the things that we have to understand about what's happening in Palestine is that it's not just happening over there. It's not just happening in Gaza, or it's happening in the West Bank or in historic Palestine. Rather, what's happening in Palestine is also sadly impacting us here. We've had, with the work that I do with CARE, unfortunately, I've had cases that have come up where children in public schools are not really treated fairly simply because they want to support the Palestinian cause. Let me give you an example of this. We had a situation in one of our local schools where a child came home and he was playing the Israeli national anthem. For those of you who don't know, every country has a national anthem. America has national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. As you all know, oh say can you see, right? And this kid, he was playing the Israeli national anthem. So his parents came to him and said, why are you playing the Israeli national anthem on your trumpet? And he said, well, the band teacher is teaching all of us to play the Israeli national anthem. And of course, the parents got very frustrated with that. They called me, and then we actually went and spoke to the school and said, hey, listen, this is something that really you shouldn't do because there's this conflict going on, and it's just really something that should be avoided. SubhanAllah, because we did that, because the parents got involved, and because they had a good relationship with their kids and the community got involved, that school then encouraged us to do a Palestinian cultural event on their school campus. And we got to actually talk to a lot of kids and talk to them about Palestine, what's happening there, the culture, the food. It was really amazing program. The reason I mention that is because, again, what's happening in Palestine isn't just happening there anymore. It's actually impacting us here in the United States. It's impacting us in multiple ways. For example, we have some schools who are even releasing statements that are only supporting Israel, but they're completely ignoring Palestine. And I don't think that's fair. I think if the school that I go to wants to make a statement, they should both talk about Palestine and the struggle that they're going through and not just completely ignore them. So this is one thing we have to understand is that this specific issue is not just happening over there, it's actually happening right here in our backyard, and we have to understand and be able to respond to it. Now, today what we're going to talk about is how to navigate, how to deal with this situation in a way that's the best, and of course, in a way that we are safe, that we are doing it while telling our parents, while talking to them as well, while talking to community leaders, so that if anything happens that we think, hey, wait a second, that's not right, wait a second, something is going on that's not right, something is going on that's not correct, you're able to speak up and take action and get your parents and other people involved so that way you all can take the correct action that are needed. So let's first talk about your rights. All of us, what country do we live in? Do we live in Mexico, Canada? Where are we living? We're living, of course, in the United States of America. And one of the great things about the United States of America is you and I have a lot of rights in this country, rights that sadly we may not even have in other countries. So what are some of those rights? All right, let's try to break it down, see how many of you paid attention in your government class or civics class. The important right that you have to remember is that all of us, we have the First Amendment right? The First Amendment means that's the most important right. And that First Amendment right is that you have the right to freedom of speech, that you have the right to say what you want and not be charged against it. Of course, in schools, you can't obviously say bad words, you can't make fun of other people, but by and large, in this country, you have the right to speak up for those people who are oppressed. You have the right to go to school and say, hey, listen, friends, or listen, people in my class, do you know what's happening in Palestine? Have you heard what's going on there? Do you know this is going on or that's going on? You have the right to do that. In fact, here in Dallas, we had a situation where one of the schools tried to tell the kids, hey, listen, you know the kufiyah, the black and white scarf that's traditional for Palestine, you can't wear that in school. If you wear that in school, you're gonna get in big trouble. So some of the kids actually went to school after talking to their parents, making sure the parents were on board and everybody knew what it was that's going on. They went to school and wore it anyway. So what the school did is that the school actually told those kids, hey, listen, if you're gonna wear that, you cannot be in this classroom. Now imagine this, you go to school, you're wearing the Palestinian kufaya, the black and white one, and now your teacher is saying, oh, you can't be in my class, you have to get out of class. Imagine how scary that is. Imagine how frightening that might be. Of course, the parents were already involved. They knew that what their kids were going to do that day. So once the school called the parents and said, hey, listen, your kids are wearing this thing, it's carrying a problem, the parents got involved. They went to the school. They called me. I got involved and went to the school. And alhamdulillah, just by talking, just by educating them, just by speaking to them, using our First Amendment right, just by speaking to them, that school the next day sent out a letter that said anybody can wear the kufaya to school, anybody can wear the hijab, anybody can wear the yarmulke, what Jews wear on their head, anybody can wear any of these religious or political symbols, and the school's gonna allow it. MashaAllah, right? So what started off with, hey, you can't wear that, now the school is saying, actually, no, you guys can wear, any of these outfits. And now, mashallah, many kids, even non-Muslim kids, are now wearing the kafiyah. Why do I mention that story? Because it would have only have happened if these kids spoke out, if they understood that they have the First Amendment right to speak. And these kids didn't just speak out, they spoke out after talking to their parents and after speaking to their parents and the community leaders. They're like, hey, listen, mom, dad, I want to wear this thing to school. I want to support the Palestinians. What do you think? And their parents, mashallah, were very reasonable, understandable. Said, yeah, go do it, make it happen. Make some changes happen. And mashallah, it worked out really well. Now imagine if those kids just went to school, didn't tell their parents, wore the kafaya, and then the parents get called and say, hey, your kid is making trouble in school. I think the situation would have been much, much different, right? I think you'd agree with me. So that's number one. Make sure that you understand you have the right to speak out. You have the First Amendment right to speak in school. You also have the First Amendment right to pass out flyers or education materials. So let's say you've got some information or some materials here, and you're going to go to school, and after school is over or in between classes, so you're not disrupting the class, you're like, hey guys, I just want you to read something about Palestine, right? Check it out, read this, read that, get some information, be educated on what's going on. Believe it or not, you actually have the right to do that in school, in public schools. You have the right to pass out educational flyers to let them know what's happening in Palestine. You also have the right to pass out what are called petitions or wear expressive clothing, like I said, the kufiyah and other things like that. But the important thing is, everybody, this is the part that's important. You cannot disrupt class. You cannot disrupt class or education. What I mean by that is, let's say the teacher's teaching, all right, guys, today we're going to learn about math. I don't know what teachers talk about. And then you're like, free Palestine, right? And then the class is disrupted and everybody like staring at you and go like, what's going on? That you can't do. But what you can do is in between classes, while you're talking to your friends at lunch or at recess, you can for sure talk to them about Palestine. You can even pass around educational materials. Just make sure it's appropriate, that there's nothing bad in it. And if going, who's the best person? Ask your parents first, pass that out, wear expressive clothing and things like that. We had some kids here in the Dallas area that they're girls and they have like Palestinian person, right? So they got like the kufiyah and the threes, which are like these, very intricate designs on it. They wore it to school. And then all their friends who are non-Muslim, they're like, that's so cool, I want one. So then their parents bought like 10 of these bags, gave it to all the kids, and all the kids are now wearing their threes, kafaya bags to school. That's an amazing way to change people's understanding and perception about Palestine. Another thing that's really interesting is that, did you know that in school you have the right to also assemble? Now, what does that mean, assembling? That means that you have the right to basically walk out of class. I know around the country, there have been many people, and you might see this on Instagram Reels or Snapchat or other places, where kids are basically walking out of class in order to support our Palestinian brothers and sisters. Believe it or not, you actually have the right to do this, and you have the right to do this without getting in trouble. What I mean by that is that because we have the First Amendment right that gives you the right to speak and to also petition the government, you have, your school is typically a public institution, you have the right to talk to your friend, be like, hey guys, next Friday there's a walkout that's going to happen. We're all going to leave our class next Friday. Now, again, you do not want to participate in any protest. You do not want to participate in any walkout. You do not want to participate in any of these programs until you first talk to your parents and talk to the community as well. This is important because you want to make sure that they understand what you're trying to do, that they also give you permission to do it, because they understand your situation, your school situation, and the community situation better than I do or better than anybody else. So of course, first talk to your parents, get their permission and get their input. But if they say, hey, listen, this is something good, we're going to support you, then you actually have the right to walk out of class and do a walkout of the school and do it without getting, you shouldn't get in any consequences. If there's any consequences, you can of course contact me or contact CARE, and we'll take action on that as well. Some of you don't have social media, which if you can, I would stay away from it, because social media is just a total waste of time. You're just like just scrolling all day, right? But for those of you who have social media and you're using it to support the Palestinian cause on Snapchat, on Instagram, whatever else is out there, or on YouTube. In fact, my son, he's 9 years old, and he's now a Palestinian activist on Roblox. So he goes on Roblox and he types in Free Palestine, talks to people, get the Palestinian flag on Roblox. MashaAllah, tabarakallah, is great, right? You have the right in America to go on Roblox, to go on Snapchat, to go on Instagram, and post positive messages about Palestine, to educate people, your friends, and to talk to them and share that experience. Your school cannot punish you or target you for something that you post on social media or on Roblox or any of these areas. Now, there are a few things that you have to understand, which is that if you post on social media, you have to be careful of what you post. Sometimes young people, especially those who are younger, we get emotional by what's happening. We see the pictures and images. And you might say something that, out of anger or out of rage, we post it on social media, like, I don't care what anybody says, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, and frowny face, frowny face, frowny face, right? Hold on a second. You have to be careful what you post. Your school cannot get you in trouble or target you. However, what you post on social media accounts and platforms can actually take down your post, can ban your account, and there can be other challenges that happen as well. You want to make sure that you use social media appropriately. You want to use it in the right way to help our brothers and sisters in Palestine, and not to use it as a way to just vent anger or vent frustration that's happening. Let me give you guys a few basic pieces of advice. This specific issue, and being Muslim in America, means that you're going to experience challenges and difficulties that you need your family support and the community support with as well. In the United States, we know that there are some people who just don't like Islam and don't like Muslims. Some of those people do things or say things that are really hurtful and are really challenging. When you support the Palestinian cause, the same thing happens. You have people who really don't like Palestine, who don't want you to speak about Palestine, and they might take action to really do something that's going to make you be quiet. The best thing for all of us to do is talk to your parents. Make sure that your parents know about how you're feeling about Palestine, what you want to do to support your Palestinian brothers and sisters, and get their permission before taking any of these actions, like going on a protest, passing out flyers or materials, anything, because your parents are your best advocate. They want to support you in whatever way they can. And if they say, no, don't do this, or I wouldn't advise it, maybe as a young person, you hear like, oh, my mom and dad, they don't know what they're talking about. Hold on, easy there, big fella. Let's take a break. Your parents care about you. They know more than you might give them credit for. So listen to them and have that conversation with them as much as possible, right? I was in a meeting recently that had so many young kids there and all their parents there as well. And they're planning to do a walkout in one of the biggest schools here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So the students and everybody that came, and one of the advice I gave them is that I told the young people, your parents are the ones that are going to support you every step of the way, and they're the ones that you really have to turn to in order to get their support and help as well. Another thing we have to remember is in the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is an entire example of people who are speaking up for the truth. People around them reject the truth for years, and then eventually everybody's, oh, actually they're right. Let's all become Muslim now, right? That's the entire seerah, and that is a lesson for us as well. Today, if you support Palestine, you're gonna have a lot of people that are like, what are you talking about? I don't understand. You might have some people that are like, no, what you're saying is wrong, what you're saying is not right, or they might try to say things that are gonna, discourage you from continuing. And that's completely okay, because our seerah, our example is people speaking the truth for a long time, majority of people rejecting it, and then eventually Allah gives them victory and Allah puts them on top. And that's inshallah what's going to happen for us for the Palestinian cause as well, inshallah. A few things I want to talk about right now is on social media we have what are called shadow bans. And shadow bans are kind of crazy, because what a shadow ban is that they're banning your account, but they're not telling you that your account is banned. So what I mean by this is, let's say you have Snapchat, well, not Snapchat, let's say you have Instagram or another account that's public and people can see it and whatnot, and then you're posting and you have like 100 likes, 150 likes, 100 likes, right? And now you post for Palestine and you got like 2 likes, 3 likes, 2 likes. You're like, wait a second, what happened? I had 100 likes and now I have like 2, 3 likes. What's happening is that your account is being what's called shadow banned. And shadow ban is a technique that sadly some social media accounts are doing in order to stop us from educating others and supporting them about Palestine. Beyond shadow ban, you also have, if you post something for Palestine, you might get a lot of random people who you have no idea who they are, and they have like weird, username like user 7871234 exclamation point, and they're like, oh, you're wrong and everything you're saying is bad. Like, who on earth is user da 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 da? And you guys, oh, wait a second. There are also robots on social media. Well, no, I don't mean like a robot, like, I'm gonna like that type of robot. I mean, there's software out there, robots, that basically, whenever somebody posts Palestine, they'll automatically post something against Palestine. And they do that in order to discourage people or to basically discourage people from posting. That's also something we've seen happening as well. One of the biggest challenges, and I hate to talk to this, especially to young people, but there are bad people out there. There are bad websites out there. One of those bad people and bad websites is called Canary Mission. Canary Mission and these other websites, what they do, sadly, I have a lot of friends who been hurt by these people. What they do is that they'll find social media accounts of young people, basically ages 14, 15, 16, 17 and whatnot. So not much older than all of you. They'll find those people accounts. They'll find one thing that they wrote that maybe is they read it emotionally or they did it, whatever. They find one thing they wrote, and then they write this whole article, this whole page about how this person is so bad and they don't like these people and blah, 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 blah. And then what happens is when you go to Google and you search that person's name, like if you search my name, Faizan Syed, if I was on Canary Mission, the first search result is Canary Mission, Faizan Syed is bad, he hates all these people, blah, 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 blah. And that's the first thing people see on social media. The reason I mention that is not to discourage you from supporting Palestine. The reason I mention that is because what these people do is they know young people are impulsive, meaning that you might see a video, you get so angry and upset, you're like, you rage, and then you post on social media. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for that one tweet, that one post, that one whatever. They get it, they screenshot it, and then they write a whole article, they put on their website. And now when you search that person's name, that's the first thing that you see when you search it. That is not where any of us want to be. And of course, we have to remember, we are Muslims. We believe in Allah. We do not post things that are aggressive or hateful against other communities or other people, even if we're feeling sad or angry about it, right? We have to be very, very careful what we're saying and what we're posting, not only because we don't want to get in trouble, but because Allah is watching us, and we have to be careful about that. Protesting. How many of you guys have been to a protest? I'm sure many of you have been to a protest. In the chat, I want you guys to write, what is your favorite chant for Palestine? If you've been to any Palestine protest, what's your favorite chant? Do you like free, free Palestine? Do you like 1, 2, 3, 4, occupation, no more? Let's hear it. I want you guys to type in the chat and give me your thoughts. What are your favorite things at these protests? As you're doing that, I'm going to give you guys some advice on protesting and what you all need to know to make sure you're protesting in a way that's helpful and not harmful. Number one, you have the First Amendment right to protest. You have the First Amendment right to get the Palestinian flag, wave it in the air. You have the right to get a megaphone and shout in the megaphone. You have the right to march on public areas like a sidewalk. Or if you're in a really large group, you can even march on the street. And most of the time when there's a large protest, the organizer of that protest will call the local police and be like, hello, Habibi. Yes, we are going to be protesting tomorrow. Okay, we'll come at 2 o'clock. No problem, no problem. You'll be there, right? And so they call the police department, they tell them what they're going to do, and that's how we're able to use large protests on the street or in these areas. Now, it should be important, before you participate in a protest, make sure, again, talk to who? Your mom and your dad, your parents, your guardian, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to have to drive you there, take you there, and they're the ones that have to make sure that's a safe protest. The really big protests are organized by well-respected people, well-established organizations who are well-connected with the Muslim community. However, there are a bunch of small protests, like these mini protests, like 10, 20, 30 people show up at them. Those protests, though, maybe for you and your age, maybe going to them is not the best place to go to. If you go to a protest that has 1,000+ people, that's typically fine. But online, what you have to understand about protests is that anybody can call for a protest. Anybody can go on Facebook or social media or WhatsApp and be like, guys, protest tomorrow at this time. Everybody show up! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! If you're not there, it's because you hate Palestine. Like, oh, I don't hate Palestine. I gotta be there, right? Take a step back, breathe a little bit. We have to understand that anybody can call for a protest, and anybody can call for a protest means that not every protest is done in a good manner or is done in an organized manner. It's done in a way that you should participate. I won't give any examples of this because I don't want to discourage people from participating. What I want to tell you is that if you're gonna go protest, talk to your parents, make sure it's legit. Your parents are gonna talk to a community leader that they know, that they trust, that have been there for a long time. Be like, yeah, Habibi, is this legit? Yes, it's legit, Habibi. Okay, see you there. Assalamu alaikum. Right? And that's how it's gonna be. When you go to protest, know your rights. Number one, when you're at a protest, you have the right to assemble, you have the right to march, wave flags, bring out the megaphone, all that stuff. What you don't have the right to do is you don't have the right to block traffic, like on the road or anything, unless, of course, the organizer called the police and the police is actually blocking the roads. Then, of course, that's great. You have a permit, you can do whatever you like. If you're in a small group of people, you really shouldn't be blocking the roads or doing these things because that's called trespassing. That's called basically, hindering traffic, and the police are going to come and unfortunately arrest some people doing that. You also have to be careful when you're protesting. Don't go on people's private property. So, for example, I was in a protest recently, and we were marching through a neighborhood, and some of the people were just marching on people's grass, right? They're marching on their lawns, going on their flower beds, and things like that. So I had to be like, hey guys, stop. I have a megaphone. When I protest, I got my Palestinian kafaya hat, I got my megaphone, I got my Palestinian flag. So, I'm really like, people are like, this guy's in charge. He knows what he's talking about. So like, yeah, everybody, let's be respectful to other people's property. Let's be respectful to other people who are living in this neighborhood. Let's get off of their driveways. Let's get out of their front yards and march on the street, because that's where we're supposed to be marching. So remember, don't march on other people's property. Don't march in other people's area. Another thing to remember is that if you're at a protest and you see somebody who's, let's say, supporting Israel or has the Israeli flag or things like that, don't approach that person. Don't get into an argument with that person. Don't get into a confrontation. A lot of these people are not there to talk to you. They're there to create problems. They're there to create trouble. And sometimes all they want is they'll have their cell phone, they're recording everything that's happening, and they just want somebody in our Palestinian crowd, our community, to come say something or do something so they can record it, put it on YouTube and be like, oh, look at all these Palestinians, they're so bad, they're so angry, blah blah blah. Don't give them that opportunity. If you see a counter protester, they'd be like, okay, you do your thing, we're gonna do our thing. Leave them alone and let them do what they're gonna do. Don't get involved in that at all. This never ends out well in any way. And we want to make sure, especially as kids, as young kids, stay away from those type of people. You see somebody with an Israeli flag or something like that at a protest, don't approach them, stay away from them, tell your parents or an adult, they'll tell the organizers, and then the police usually keep the two groups separate, which is the best thing to do in any situation or in any circumstance, inshallah. Last but not least, and I'm going to promise, I'm going to end and I'm going to hear your guys' ideas for some amazing chants that you guys had. Bullying and harassment. So unfortunately, this issue is a very sensitive issue. It is a very intense issue, and it's impacting a lot of people. Unfortunately, some of these scenarios involve bullying and harassment. And what happens sometimes is that I've had many cases of children going to school. They support Palestine, and when they do, some of their friends or some of the people in the class will be like, oh no, we don't support Palestine, we don't like Palestine. And then they begin to actually target and bully that person. It's very rare, but it does happen from time to time. Now, if that happens to you, you have a few ways to respond. The one way that I would recommend to not do is don't stay silent. Don't be silent. If somebody's bullying you or targeting you because it's for Palestine, or you wear the hijab, or you're Muslim, or you're from Pakistan and you're Desi, or whatever it is, don't let that slide. Don't let that happen. Me, when I was growing up, my parents would tell me just to kind of stay quiet, not to do anything. But the reality is, when you're quiet, the bullies actually just get boldened and they want to bully you more and more and more and more. It never really ends. Instead, what you should do is you should also, number one, not stay silent. Number two, don't fight back. Don't, if they insult you, don't insult them back. If they do something to you, don't do that to them back. Why? For two reasons. Number one, as Muslims, we believe in ihsan. We believe in having the best character, and the best character doesn't mean when somebody insults you, you insult them right back. That's not having good moral character. When somebody insults you or says something to you or bullies you, the best thing to do is, again, don't be quiet, don't stay silent, don't fight back right to their face, and because that's going to escalate it. They're going to get angry, you're going to get angry, and something that starts off verbally gets into like a fist fight or something else, right? Don't do that. Rather, what you want to do is you want to take a step back, tell an adult, your parents, a teacher that you trust in school, and make sure to report that situation. Now, again, as an adult, it's easy for me to say that, yes, report it. But again, for you, you have to go to that school. You have to see these kids. So for many young people, they're like, oh, I don't want to create trouble. I don't want to create a bigger situation or scenario. That's actually the worst thing to do. Rather, what you really want to do is you want to be able to have the courage, to have the strength to talk to an adult, your parent, a trusted teacher, somebody in the school, and say, hey, listen, I just want to tell you, this is something that happened to me. This is what happened. This is how I felt in that scenario. And these adults are going to respond in, inshallah, a very adult manner. They're going to address the situation, and they're going to make it in a way that everybody comes out better at the end of it. This is something we really need to start doing as a community. If you're being bullied or targeted, speak out, don't lash out, don't stay quiet, speak out and get other parents involved. Another thing you have to do is document. Document just means write down what happened. Clearly respond and tell them what happened in this scenario, in this situation, and be able to say, after lunch, this thing happened to this student, this, right? Document, and write it down, and make sure that you're getting adults involved. Once you get an adult involved, inshallah, they'll take action to resolve the situation. Now, in some cases, in some scenarios, we have that maybe even a teacher or somebody is the one doing the bullying. I've had several instances of this happening, especially unfortunately on the Palestinian cause, because some teachers support Israel and they don't want anybody to speak out against that country. So if you do that, then sometimes these teachers take that action. You have to understand, in the United States, there are laws in place to protect you from that type of harassment, even by a teacher. And what you need to do is, if it's one teacher doing it, you have to tell another trusted teacher, or you have to tell your assistant principal, or the principal or another administrator, or tell your parents, and then they'll get the right people involved. This is an action that we have to take because, again, being silent only means that that bully is going to keep doing what they're going to do, or they're going to do it to somebody else even worse. Don't lash out, because if you lash out, it's going to escalate, get worse, and of course, you will also get in trouble in schools. If a bully, punches you and you punch back, you're both going to get suspended, right? This is kind of the way it works because both of you are involved in that fight. So instead, take a step back, get a parent involved. Don't escalate the situation. It requires courage to do that. It requires strength to do that, but it's something that all of us need to be able to do. Last but not least, online harassment. There are some people online who are going to troll you. They're going to say some nasty stuff. The best thing to do, guys, is don't let that get to you. The best thing that I do is whenever I see somebody who's trolling me or whatnot, I'm just like, delete, ban, delete, ban, delete, ban, block, 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 delete, ban, block. That's it, right? Don't get into this back and forth with people. Don't get into an argument with people on social media. People can sometimes be the worst, or maybe there's just a robot. Maybe you're not even arguing with them. You're just arguing with some guy who wrote something on their computer. And now anytime somebody supports Palestine, they will then just start, going after you again and again. And that's it. Delete them, block them, ignore them, move on, inshallah. At the end of the day, my brothers, and I'll conclude with this. At the end of the day, I want to remind you that Allah does not change the condition of people until they change that which is in themselves. What we have to change within ourselves is we have to know our rights. We have to be able to speak up for the Palestinians because they cannot speak for themselves. We have to understand we have the First Amendment right to speak. We have the First Amendment right to pass out information. We need to educate our friends, our family, and our communities as much as possible. And by doing that, if we're harassed, if we're targeted, get your parents involved, get adults involved, and make sure that your parents are involved in this process because they're the ones that are going to take care of you and be your greatest advocate, inshallah. With that, I want to say jazakallah khair, guys, for your time, and thank you for listening to me. For those of you who don't know, I have a really cool program called Inspiring Young Leaders. If any of you are interested in becoming leaders long term and you want to learn how to speak in public, how to debate, how government works, Islamic history, entrepreneurship, dawah, and a bunch of other skills, we have a whole program for that. And of course, you can learn more with scanning this QR code. With that, I want to say jazakallah khair, everybody. I'm going to pause it. If there's any questions you guys have, anything I can help clarify, if there's something that happened in your school and you want some advice on, I'm the person. I'm more than happy to help and respond to that. All right, excellent. So let's see. If you guys have any questions or thoughts for me, please go ahead and put in the chat, and then we'll be able to respond to those right away, inshallah.
They're asking about your program, Brother Faison, so they want to see, they want you to go back to the QR code and yeah. Perfect.
So here's the program that I have. Alhamdulillah, I've been teaching young Muslims for over a decade. It's one of my passions to get young people who, are a little shy. They're like, hello, how are you doing? And then, train them to be, like the Prophet ﷺ, to be able to speak in front of the whole community as the Prophet ﷺ did when he first started with the revelation. So these are some of my students. MashaAllah, I teach mainly high school students and college age students. And again, it's all about, for me, teaching those skills that everybody needs to know. I think all of us, how many of you would love to be able to stand in front of 100, 200, 500 people and talk to them passionately about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about your belief for Palestine, your advocacy for them? How many would love to be able to debate? Have you guys ever been on YouTube and see like these epic debates between like a Muslim and people of other faiths, and the Muslim guy just like bam, bam, bam? If you want to be able to do that, this is a great program. I also take students to Washington, D.C., which is really fun. Washington, D.C. is our nation's capital. We go to the White House, Congress, all this cool stuff. So it's a really cool program. It's, like I said, designed for mainly high school students, and it's a great opportunity to really build your skills and take it back into your communities. Ultimately, what I want is for you guys who are involved with Young Muslims Junior and MCNA, for you all to be able to learn these skills, bring it back into your communities, and be that local pillar in your community, inshallah. We have to do that for Palestine. We have to do that by first knowing our rights, what the law allows, speaking with our parents, building our community, and then building our skills so that we can be proud advocates for this cause, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. I think this question is a really important question. Is so one of the kids are asking what to do if someone asks me about Hamas.
That's an amazing question. So we get this all the time. All the time, young people are being asked, what is about Hamas and these type of areas? One of the best things that I would recommend is, it depends how long you want to talk to that person. We don't support Hamas. Like, we don't support any of these organizations, whatnot, that are out there. So you don't have to be there to defend Hamas or defend what they did on October 7th. However, what you have to do is contextualize it. What contextualizing means is that Hamas didn't just exist on October 7th. Rather, you have the people, our brothers and sisters in Gaza, 2.4 million people, all behind a giant 40-foot barrier wall that have their food, their water, and everything controlled by Israel, that every few years they get bombed. They have no jobs, no future, their schools get targeted. And in that environment, you're going to create people who are going to be hateful. You have to understand that the people who did that October 7th attack, they were born, they were born and they were all living in Gaza during the blockade, meaning that they don't know any life outside of being in a city that's surrounded by these walls. They have no idea of what it's like outside them. So what we have to do is we have to contextualize it. That say that, listen, I don't support Hamas, I don't support the killing of innocent people in any capacity, but we understand that Hamas exists and the situation is there because of the illegal Israeli blockade that the international community recognizes is illegal, it's immoral, it's wrong, and that blockade continues, then that result is going to happen as well. So this is something that we have to be able to speak about, which is not to support Hamas or any group like that, but to understand how they came about and where they came about, and the history behind that, inshallah. I hope that helps answer the question.
Oh, Jazakallah khair. No, I think this was great, Brother Faizan. I don't really see any other questions, but thank you so much for a really amazing program, teaching the kids what their rights are, how to be respectful while doing it, what to avoid to bring into confidence your parents, which is super, super key. Interesting. I'm getting a couple other questions, but I think you covered majority of that. So inshallah khair, I don't think we have anything else. Do we have anything else? If not, then we'll go ahead and wrap up, guys. Go ahead. Actually, I'm getting a couple questions. Can I start a fundraiser for Palestine? I think yes, definitely. However you want to do it, just make sure you are donating the money to a credible source. So again, bring your parents in on this, have them contact the local imam or local shuyukh so you guys can be a part of that and make sure that the money is going in the right direction. What age should we be to be a part of a rally?
Honestly, it can be any age. I took my kids, my youngest daughter is 4 years old. And again, I took her to one of the larger rallies where there's a lot of people and it's designed for that. Don't go to one of these smaller rallies where they're taking other type of action at a very young age. That's something you want to be maybe a teenager, an adult to go to those programs.
Yes, inshallah. Okay, inshallah khair. All right, guys. This is an interesting question. Sometimes I see kids chanting in the mic, and this will be our last question, guys. But the drones come above us. Is it safe to do that with the drones around?
Yeah, so a lot of those drones are just Palestinians. They're mainly Muslims who have these drones that they record the protest that's going on, and that's all it is. So you can definitely chant inside a microphone. You can definitely share that on WhatsApp and other areas. And again, guys, those drones are really owned by our community. The way the laws are written in America is that, let's say there's like an opposing group, they can't really fly their drone over your area. So that's not typically what it is. Most of these drones, like I said, are owned by Palestinians. They make videos, post it online, and they get like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of views. So inshallah, it's all khair and good.
Yeah, inshallah khair. All right, guys. Jazakallah khair again, Brother Faizan. This was a great presentation. I learned a lot. I'm sure that the kids learned a lot. Inshallah khair, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. All right, guys. I have a couple minutes. So I want to go ahead and, like, I understand this is a lot. right? To understand your rights, to understand what's doing the right thing, how to speak up, when to speak up, how to navigate through bullying. You know, this is a very turbulent time for you as someone in middle school or high school or even college, right? And, you know, when we're seeing children like yourselves, right, suffering and going through what they are, it's very natural to feel negative. You know, the first question may be like, why is Allah doing this? What's happening? What am I making a difference, right? Is this even making an impact? And I have to say, yes, guys, everything that you do, right? Whether it's educating someone, whether it's going to a rally with your parents, whether it's social media, liking posts, sharing posts, whatever it may be, or it's even a silent dua, this makes a difference, right? You don't need to fall into the negativity of it. You need to remember that we may be like, why is Allah doing this to our Muslim brothers and sisters? But you need to remember Allah is all wise and He's all knowing and He's all just, right? That Allah knows best, right? SubhanAllah, in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 216, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it could be that you dislike something when it is good for you. And it could be that you like something when it is bad for you. Allah knows and you do not know. Allah is all Al-Alim, which is the all-knowing, right? So we may not know Allah's plan and we may not understand it, but we have to remember that Allah knows best what's for His believer. And then that, you guys, He tests those who He loves the most. So what's happening in Gaza and in Palestine, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing them the most. So imagine how close they are to Him. Those are His most beloved. Those people who are passing away, women, children, men, old people, young people, all of these people, right? They are considered martyrs. They're going straight to Jannah, guys. Those are people that we shouldn't feel bad about. We should be like, yeah, Allah knows best. Inshallah, I will join them in Jannah, right? You do your part of whatever you're doing here. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us, He wants to give us a reward in the afterlife. He challenges us and tests us in this right. Indeed, a greater reward comes from a greater trial. And indeed, when Allah loves a people, He subjects them to trials. So we struggle in this life to get rewards in the afterlife. We're not supposed to be having a super peaceful life that it feels like Jannah. No, Jannah is after we pass away. We have to struggle. We have to go through strife. We have to feel this torment. You know what we feel when we see our brothers and sisters in Gaza, when we feel helpless here. Allah is testing you right now. What did you do in this time? Right? How did you utilize your rights, what you're capable of doing in this world, being in America, being a Muslim in America at this time? So you guys need to remember, Allah knows best, right? And Allah is the all-knowing, all-wise, and He is testing us to see how we react and what we do, and He is testing them with their trial as well. And so we make that dua, we do whatever we can, and we go forward, inshallah khair. All right, guys. That's how I'm going to end this program. Jazakallah khair again, Brother Faizan. This was a great program. I really enjoyed it. It was super engaging, informative, and inspirational, inshallah khair. I really appreciate all the efforts that you do in this community with your organization and with this talk. And I really, really appreciate it. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and end with dua and surah. Inshallah, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. All right, guys. Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.